This is going to sound like a weird question, but have you ever gotten a letter from, like, say, your grandma or your aunt, and you can't read it? It might be because that person learned how to read, but more importantly, learned how to write under a system that was very different from yours. Depending on the state that you're from, you may or may not have learned how to write in cursive. And if you didn't and you look at cursive, you're like, oh my God, what is going on there? Or maybe at some point you had to do some type of group work where you had to read one of your buddy's handwritings and you're like, I have no idea what the heck is down here. Okay, so that's all they set up. At this point, although lots of people could read and write, there wasn't any standardized font that they wrote in or how they were trained to write. And what that meant is, just like it's really hard to understand somebody with an accent from a different place, it would be really, really hard to read letters or read laws or read anything that was written by somebody who used a font that was very different to yours. So one of the things that Alcuin suggests is the introduction of a standardized font. He calls it Carolingian minuscule, in which everything that is government, that is important, is produced using that. Everybody who is a cleric, who is a government official, is going to learn to use and transcribe and correspond in this. And what that's going to do is create a sense of unity. Everybody has the same type of handwriting. It's going to allow anybody who can read to read what is written and passed out throughout the kingdom. And why this is really important to us is that Charlemagne encourages lots of people in schools and monasteries to copy a lot of the most important texts that came from the Roman Empire. And anywhere from 60 to 80% of what we know about Rome, we actually know because Charlemagne encouraged people to copy those texts so that other people could use them. Probably the most important literary work of this period is a biography that is done by a guy named Einhard of Charlemagne. It's one of the really few primary sources of Charlemagne's reign, and Einhard is both a cleric and one of Charlemagne's buddies. So when you look at sources that relate to that, or maybe dig into who Einhard is a little bit more, you'll get an idea of why he might portray the good traits that Charlemagne has in some ways, the bad traits that other people have in other ways. So huge achievements in the arts, the palace at Aachen, manuscripts like this, all these things are part of the larger Carolingian Renaissance.